Today on Locked On Rockies, bottom of the NL West yet again.
You are Locked On Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock on Rockies fans, Paul Holden here from the Locked On Rockies podcast, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies podcast right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Proud to be your first listen of the day. Who am I? Well, I'm Paul Holden, your Rockies fan extraordinaire, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk for about 2 seasons now, following this team my entire life through the thick and thin. We're breaking it all down right here on the Locked On Rockies podcast. Today on Locked On Rockies, we're talking about the Rockies dropping yet another series, what went wrong in Arizona, and some of the stuff that did go right. But we're also going to talk about potential breakout from one young star, a little bit of this Cardinals series coming up here as well. But before we do that, got to let you know that today's episode of Locked On Rockies is brought to you by Vroom. With Vroom, you can buy a car entirely online and have it delivered straight to you, so you never have to go to a dealership again. So next time you need to buy a car, just grab your phone, go to vroom.com and check out thousands of great cars. The Colorado Rockies have yet to win a series since the All-Star break, and this was a team that went into the All-Star break on a hot streak, arguably playing its best stretch of baseball this entire season, maybe outside of the first couple weeks of the year. And I bring up the first couple weeks of the year again because this has been a theme with the Rockies. Their hot starts or their good stretches of baseball have been completely wiped out by bad stretches. The Rockies have been bad since the All-Star break, since this team decided to double down on its roster and say, this is the roster and everything that we believe in. They have gone on to lose to all sorts of competitive level teams, and they can't handle Arizona in Arizona. This is more examples and more things and more frustration builds from the trade deadline with the lack of plan, process, and idea and understanding of the current state of the Colorado Rockies. Since Bud Black has gone on to say that this team's been a playoff caliber rotation, the Rockies have gone to lose series. Chad Kuhl and Jose Urena, both of which the Rockies have talked about re-signing before the end of the year, have continued to struggle. And Chad Kuhl's been up, very honest about these struggles of himself of late. And I mean, Urania wasn't necessarily the worst in yesterday's game. It was relatively close there until the 6th and the 7th, where things got a little out of hand. But the Rockies had bounced back and taken the lead at that point. So it's not necessarily just on Urania, who did bounce back after the 2 runs in the first inning to finish with 6 innings, 7 hits, 3 earned runs, 3 walks, and 2 strikeouts. Not the worst line. You don't like seeing the 3 walks, but again, not a terrible, terrible line, especially when your offense comes back and backs you up here and puts you in a position to win this ball game. But then when the bullpen comes in and takes over after that, they go on, they give up the 2 runs in the 8th, enough for the Diamondbacks to win. The Rockies out-hit the Diamondbacks in the game, only by 1, but Robert Stevenson comes in for an inning, gives up an earned run, a walk, strikeout. Alex Colome, multiple walks there, multiple earned runs for him. Full display. Bullpen melts down and costs the Rockies a win as well earlier in the series. Let's flash back to the Friday game where the Rockies lose 6-5. Rockies come storming back. They have a pretty solid game, actually, where they score multiple times before the 7th, giving themselves their 5 runs here. But 4 runs in the 7th and 8th is unacceptable. You can't go from a nice start from Herman, 6 innings, 4 hits, 2 earned, 3 walks, 3 strikeouts. Again, not a dominant line, but you'll take that line, especially in a place you can score some runs in Arizona. Lucas Gilbraith cannot come out or cannot come into games and then just proceed to walk 3 batters. Unacceptable. Free passes, especially to a team like Arizona, just cannot. This bullpen we knew was going to be an issue this year, and this again, one of the big things, there's nothing about the way that this team has performed since staying firm at the trade deadline and the All-Star break that rebuilds your confidence. This bullpen has been incredibly frustrating, especially when your offense goes out and does put you in a position to win road games. I mean, 3 walks can't have any. There has to be leading to 2 earned runs and only giving up 1 hit, 2 earned runs off of 1 hit and 3 walks. The Rockies simply need much, 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 much more from the bullpen. Bullpen's good in game 2 of the series here, but Colome, in his 2 appearances against the Diamondbacks, he gives up the 2 earned runs for the Diamondbacks in the game on Friday in the 8th inning on 3 hits and 2 earned runs. And then in the game yesterday, 2 earned runs on 2 walks and 1 hit. Doesn't even get a full inning. What are we doing? What's the point? And as Joel says in the chat, I'm still salty with Black for that playoff caliber comment. Since the All-Star break, the Rockies have categorically shown they cannot compete in the NL West. I mean, it's just, I'm sick. We talked a lot about this last week, so I'm trying to shift things, but it's just, I'm tired of watching and seeing the performance on the field and then being told others and being told another thing by front office, by management, by people in charge, people trying to spin this. And, I can't remember specifically, but it was yesterday. I was watching the game a little bit. When you lose Drew and Spilly and you lose the TV booth a little bit, and you could tell that the Rockies are really playing frustrating baseball because they do a good job of taking care of the home team there with the Rockies. They do a great job, but again, when your broadcast is that on the nose about stuff, things are in a tough spot for the Rockies. And unfortunately, folks, it just doesn't get better. The Cardinals come into town to rip open a fresh wound, and the Rockies are going to celebrate the Cardinals. And you celebrate Yachty and Albert Pujols. I get that. But there is some, I don't know. And I'm not that upset about it because you expect this. But they kind of put the Rockies like with the Cardinals, and then you kind of just hype up that you're doing all this stuff for the Cardinals. It's a little weird. Just a little weird. It's just a little weird to do a whole graphic, to do a whole thing. And anyway, we fight the bots yet again here. Anyway, I'm not going to dive too much into the that Cardinals thing. It's really not a big deal whatsoever. I mean, it's just the Rockies celebrating the Cardinals and and players. It's on top of all the frustrations this year. When Rockies fans see that, I can see a little bit of the frustration, just like the frustration we feel when spam bots come into our live chat here. But don't worry, we took care of them, and we'll be all right here. Let's talk about good news. Let's talk about bright side for the Rockies, and something that we've all been saying. The Rockies are actually doing something that people have wanted them to do. But before we do that, got to tell you about our friends at LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the place to go when you are posting a new job. Folks, you know about tons of the stuff that LinkedIn offers for you. As you gear up for fall, you need the right people on your team to help your small business fire on all cylinders. LinkedIn Jobs is here to make it easier to find the people you want to talk to faster and for free. Create a free job post in minutes on LinkedIn Jobs to reach your network and beyond to the world's largest professional network of over 810 million people. Then add your job to the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to help spread the word that you're hiring so your network can help you find the right people to hire. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. It's That's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidates you want to talk to faster. Did you know that every week, nearly 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn? Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonmlb. That's linkedin.com/lockedonmlb to post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply. One bright spot for the Colorado Rockies has been the man himself. The Rockies finally are playing him consistently during this call up here. And what has he done here in this series against the Diamondbacks? He gets 11 at bats, and what does he get? 6 hits, 2 hits in every single game against the Diamondbacks, showing exactly why Montero needs to continue to be in the lineup each and every day. This is the way you build up excitement and energy in a season that desperately needs one. When you want to go out and show fans something more exciting than Chris Bryant, because Chris Bryant, his health issues have sidelined him for most of this year. Your all-star, your big name, your big free agent acquisition is gone. You've moved on from some other stuff. Your starting rotation that you like to advertise has regressed. And, it took a while for some people to get going, especially with Crone kind of cooling off in terms of hitting home runs. So Crone had a couple of big RBIs in this weekend series. But this is something that excites even bitter Rockies fans like me. Seeing Montero in the lineup every day, and not only in the lineup, but doing something, but performing well, but looking good at the dish by getting at bats. Hey, we know what happens to certain exciting prospects for the Rockies if they start off hot in Arizona. It could lead to something very, very special until they let him walk at the trade deadline or at the end of the year and not get anything back from him other than one draft pick. But this is something that when you're looking for storylines, when you're looking for threads, when you're looking for things to be excited about by the Colorado Rockies, Montero and his performance is exactly this. We're finally getting, we could see something from the most notorious trade in Colorado Rockies history. It could pan out to something more than what we've seen from Austin Gomber so far. Montero is the next player up when it comes to that trade, and go forth with things like when the future of the Rockies, when they have certain players coming in and going. They get to go and now see what Montero can do now that Gomber's kind of the bullpen long guy. I think really this is what we're going to see, and hopefully what we're seeing from Montero is that the trade was really more about Montero and the young guys, and that's really why when we look at the deal with Nolan Arenado and why we're sending him, it's I think for so long, or at least for the first few years, because we didn't see anybody else, it was just, what's Austin Gomber doing? What's Austin Gomber doing for this rotation? What is he gonna, is he going to be a dominant pitcher that's going to reshape this Rockies rotation and add a thing? He's coming in for Nolan. He's the MLB ready player. He's starting in the rotation. He gets into like the third spot in the rotation there when he comes over here. But now with Gomber, honestly, I really don't mind Gomber out of the bullpen. I think when the Rockies have an issue and to turn to they need a long arm out of the pen, which has happened a few times this year. Turning to Austin Gomber is not really necessarily the worst. In the context of how he got here, it continues to be weird. But Montero is all eyes are on Montero right now. For me, what am I watching? I'm watching Brendan Rodgers continue to develop into the leader. I'm still sitting there hoping for more from Ryan McMahon. Big hits and big home runs in some parts, but hits into infuriating double plays and others in this weekend series. But I'm also watching Luis Montero. And let's dive into the live chat here. Adrian says, seeing Montero just proves why we should have traded Crone. It's it really is. I mean, the fact of the matter is, where do you want Montero to play, and what truly is going to be next year for the Rockies? Because with the way things have gone, and depending on what the Rockies want to do, which is why I think before why seeing Montero is actually more of a reason why we should have traded Iglesias. Iglesias moves shortstop. You put Ryan McMahon at shortstop. You have Montero play third, and then you're good to go. Because here's the deal. We talked a little bit about this, but at the beginning of the offseason or the beginning of the year and everything, I said Ryan McMahon is the third baseman. He was Gold Glove caliber there. He's and all that stuff. But since he's not, he's obviously been much better. Ryan McMahon has really taken a big strides and big improvements in his defensive game through as the season has gone on. That Ryan McMahon has become a better defender, absolutely. But since he's kind of not in that Gold Glove running, since we know he can play shortstop, since the Rockies are still trying to explore and figure things out, I think I would have liked the Rockies, a Crone trade would have made sense. But move Iglesias, McMahon goes into shortstop, becomes your shortstop for the season, and Montero's your third baseman. But that also begs the question, is Montero going to be your third or your first baseman? What is the plan for Montero? Because it's great that he's in the game, but is it great that he's playing third base? Should he not be getting as many reps at first base as possible if he's going to be the future first baseman? Or is the Rockies' plan to talk with Ryan McMahon to shift him to shortstop to have Montero play third base while you still have Crone under team control? That's something that I was asking, or that I've been thinking about when it comes to what you're trying to do with Montero when it comes to the field. I'd rather Montero be Crone's backup on first base. I'd like Connor Joe to not play first base as much as I love Connor Joe. But I think that's maybe something that the Rockies could be fiddling with. But when you don't make any of the moves, especially with someone like Iglesias, who could he come back to the Rockies? Sure. It doesn't make sense for the Rockies to bring him back if what they're trying to do, other than he was a vet that performed well and they like what he was doing. But yeah, where is Montero truly going to fit with this Rockies lineup? And how many times are they going to need to be creative and take one of their better bats out of the lineup? One of the things that Montero benefited from in this Arizona series was a Rodgers off day. You can't have Brendan Rodgers out of the lineup and Montero out of, is that going to overlap? Is that going to cause issues when you're trying to fill in the pieces for some of these people? Is someone always going to be on a rest day for Montero to have an opportunity to play? Because at this point going forward in this season, Montero needs to be in the lineup at least 5 days a week. I said 3 earlier. I want Montero in every game possible going forward. I want him to go through a tough stretch. I want him to bounce back. I want him to see as much major league pitching as possible to take the steps forward that he needs to do. In the live chat, Joel says, Montero showed he's got the stuff. He played well, looked comfortable at the dish, and looked like he was just having fun. There's something to be said for a player with a pure love of the game. Absolutely. And that's something I think when you get consistent playing time, and when he's gone up and down, he's gone through the biz a couple of times, especially this season, some frustrating call-ups and stints like that where he doesn't necessarily get as much playing time as I'm sure he hoped. There is something to be said for a young guy excited for his first real opportunity with the club to show what he can do and show his teammates that he's for real, and that joy of the game is still there. And especially in this part of the season, and as the season has gone on, and I'm sure I think the Rockies are a close team. I think you can see it in some of the social videos and some of the stuff they say. I think this is a team that does like each other and enjoy each other. I think they have good chemistry. It's just been it just hasn't necessarily reflected on the field all the time. Even with all these changes and with all these new faces, I think the Rockies are the right place to go for some vets that are looking to reinvent their careers, like we've seen a lot of them try to do this year. Got an interesting question here from Adrian in the live chat, but I'm going to answer that in just a moment because I got to tell you about our friends at BetOnline. BetOnline.net, that's BetOnline.net, is the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your betting needs. Find all your favorite sports and events at the #1 online source for odds, lines, and games. Find reviews and news of every league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all your sports wagering information. From live in-game betting, scores, and podcasts, they have you covered. Head to BetOnline today or use your mobile device to learn more about the action happening today. That's betonline.net. BetOnline, where the game starts. Adrian in the live chat says, who do you think is out of the water in the next years? We have Tovar and Amador who can play shortstop and second base, and we have a lot of infielders coming up soon. I'm assuming who do I think is not going are you asking who do I think is not going to be there from the Rockies in the infield in a couple years with these young prospects? I think the Rockies commit more to Brendan Rodgers and hold on to him and move Ryan McMahon before they do anything crazy. CJ Cron is not going to be the first baseman outside of the contract that he was given. Unless CJ Cron struggles next year to generate offense, I think you'll see CJ Cron play out his entire contract here. And I am envisioning a future for the Rockies when it comes to the infield. When people are getting ready, if you want to look down the timeline, when you're looking at what could be a Montero, Tovar, Rogers, and Toglia first base. Infield, what Chris Bryant's contract and what he's doing looks like that. Charlie Blackmon, by the point that all those players are up, will most likely be retired. And center field, I don't know what that will look like for the Rockies. It could be Jonathan Daza. It could be. Actually, by the time all of them are up, it better be Zach Veen out there in center field leading things for the Rockies. So they're a whole fresh wave of Rockies players is coming. And let's not forget the Rockies with one of the top catching prospects as well. If in my opinion, the only person that is guaranteed still, or that I think you'll still see on the team, Rogers is the one that's going to still be in the lineup consistently when all these players come up, because at some point, if you're getting more offense from from players that aren't Ryan McMahon with good enough defense, I don't know what you do. And Adrian, you make a good point there. Could be a solid bench bat if you keep Ryan McMahon. He's under team control, but if Ryan McMahon does have some solid bounce back years and performs a little bit, could be an interesting trade piece too as the years go on and they get these other younger players up. But that's a long time away. That's a lot of planning for the Rockies, and we'll see if that pans out. But I would imagine that is what the future plan is. As for pitching, that's a whole other conversation. But tough stretch for the Rockies there. They look to get things back on track at home here with the series against the Cardinals. Nolan Arenado and company head back into town. And the Rockies doing their big honoring of Pujols and Yadier Molina. So that'll be an interesting week of baseball here in Colorado, just like it'll always be every time Arenado comes back here, not on the Rockies. But we'll be breaking it all down right here on the Locked On Rockies. And now that you've made Locked On Rockies your first listen of the day, why don't you go check out the Locked On MLB podcast and stay up to date all things in the world of Major League Baseball. You can follow me at Paul Holden 33, and you can follow the show on Twitter at LO Rockies. Joel, Adrian, thank you so much for braving the spam bots that tried to take us down today, but instead we had a great Rockies conversation in the meantime as well. So just subscribe on the YouTube channel and come hang out with us here. Get your questions answered live on the podcast. And folks, that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Until next time, I'm Paul Holden saying